In this video, I want to talk about why Piriformis Syndrome is a real pain in the butt, but 3 tips that you can be doing to get rid of that right away. So let's go. Thanks for checking out the channel. If you're new here, my name's John. I'm the head therapist here at John W Sports Injury. Here we like to do 3 simple things, which has helped you to understand your body, get rid of any pain that you may be experiencing so you can ultimately strive on to hit your health, wellness, exercise and sporting goals. So if you haven't subscribed to our channel already and this sounds like the type of stuff you want to be seeing, make sure you hit that subscribe button. But today I want to talk about a particular condition that is quite common, and this is called Piriformis Syndrome. So I want to talk about 2 things firstly. 1 is piriformis and 2 is sciatica, and how these 2 things are so closely linked. So what is the piriformis? Well, as I said at the start of the video, the piriformis can be a real pain in the butt because literally it is a muscle that lies deep in our gluteal area. So the glute muscles are a big set of muscles, our most powerful set of muscles. You might be familiar with the term glute max because it's that big powerful muscle that sits in that bottom wrapping round to hip area. But deeper to this, we have other sets of muscles, and one of those muscles, slap bang in the middle, is what we call the piriformis. Now, I mentioned sciatica as well. Now, what we know about sciatica is that sciatica is a pain that is being transferred from anywhere from the lower back through the glute hip area, down the hamstring, down the calf, through what we call the sciatic nerve path. The sciatic nerve is the nerve that runs from the lower back to the foot. So if we're experiencing certain pains in that area, anywhere throughout that area, this can generally be termed sciatica. Now, why are these 2 things linked? Well, sciatica we know is an impingement or a compression or something acting upon that sciatic nerve to cause these pains. So a lot of the time people might talk about a slipped disc, where at the start of the nerve path there's the disc that is bulging that's hitting that nerve, and that can certainly be the case. But the muscle of piriformis has a really close relationship with the sciatic nerve. The sciatic nerve actually runs either right the way through the middle of the piriformis muscle or in very close proximity to the piriformis muscle. So if we start to develop any dysfunction, some tightness, some soreness, some issues in this piriformis muscle, then that can directly impact upon the sciatic nerve. And this can be a big cause of that sciatic pain or hip general gluteal area soreness. So if you're somebody who's suffering with pain in and around that hip glute area, or someone who might be getting some sciatic nerve and perhaps it's not being caused by a bulging disc, then these 3 tips are going to be perfect for you in order to get rid of your Piriformis syndrome. So what we're going to do is we're going to dive over to the bed and I'm going to talk about these 3 tips in some more detail. So the first of my 3 tips is going to be to stretch the piriformis. Now, before we dive into these stretches, it's really important to bear in mind that we don't want to dive into this too aggressively or to overstretch. What we're looking to do is activate what we call the stretch reflex, where effectively we're looking to ping a message to our brain to say that we want to relax that muscle tissue. But if we dive into this stretch too aggressively, too quickly, we can in fact do the opposite and send the brain some warning signals that we're trying to create some dysfunction for the muscle. So the way that we stretch it is what I call a figure 4 stretch. Now we can lie onto our back and with our legs bent, if we want to stretch the right hand side piriformis, all I do is bring my foot up and onto my thigh to create this sort of figure 4 position. Now that in itself might be enough to be stretching out that muscle tissue, but to add more to the stretch, I can just look to slowly lift that leg. Now, what you want to do is lift this leg until you feel that stretching sensation. Again, it should be a gentle sensation. You can always do this stretch a couple of times, but we look to hold this for 30 seconds and then relax. As I said, it can work really nicely to repeat 2 or 3 times, and you'll find that you'll be able to go a little bit further potentially each time. My second tip is around rolling of the muscle tissue, or self-massage if you like. And this is where I always go for my favourite tool, which is the lacrosse ball. If you've watched my content before, you'll know I'm a fan of using these for rolling. Now again, same principles apply. We want to do this with some caution and going into this carefully. But what we look to do is place the ball under the bottom. Remember, this piriformis muscle is running really through the middle of the bottom out towards the hip. So if I place that ball into the middle, and then I can slowly look to move that ball around until I feel a sore tender point. All I'm looking to do there is hold, and this can be very light at first. As I feel more confident or I get used to this, I can look to apply a bit more pressure, but we want that to be a light pressure. And we simply look to hold for 30 seconds to a minute. You should start to feel that muscle desensitize, and you'll feel those tissues start to relax. Then we can move off and we can find another area as we look to roll through that. But remember, be nice and careful as we go through. Don't over push that one. My third tip is really around strengthening the muscle, actually looking to get the muscle moving. Ultimately, we want to be getting this muscle back to be able to cope with the demands of everyday life, whether that be walking, running, jumping, squatting, you name it. So we need to get this tissue moving. But again, we want to do this carefully, progressively, and slowly building back so that we're not creating that shock response from the body. So I always start off with what I would call a non-weight bearing exercise. And this is where we're doing an exercise in sitting or kneeling, or a position where we're not having to absorb too much of our body weight. So I call this exercise for the Piriformis the weeing dog. And I always apologise to clients for that, but I guarantee you will remember the exercise as a result of that name. I could call it a 4-point kneel with hip abduction, but it's easier to remember the weeing dog. Why is it called the weeing dog? Well, we get ourselves into this sort of 4-point kneeling position. So I've got my knees below my hips, hands below my shoulders, and then from here, all I look to do is simply take the leg out to the side. Now again, start nice and slow. That can be a small movement, and we can build that movement as we become more confident and stronger in the area. And we're looking to do 10 repetitions, and you can repeat this 3 times. But remember, we want this movement to just be quite small at first. Build with your confidence. And when it comes to these exercises, I often talk to people about doing these every other day. And really, that gives us what I call our feedback day. So the day after doing these exercises is a vital day to understand the body's response. Does that feel okay? Does that feel better? Great, maybe we can build the intensity. But if actually it's become a little bit sorer or aggravated, we know that perhaps we pushed it a little too much, and we can rein that back in. But hopefully you progressively find that to be easier, more comfortable of an exercise, and your symptoms settle. Then you can build the exercises back towards the weight bearing exercises such as squats and lunges, and return to your sport and exercise, and ultimately be moving towards your sport and exercise goals, which is exactly what we want to do. Has that been helpful? If it has, can you do me a favour? Hit that like button, because that will help others to see this video, and it shows me that this is the type of stuff that you want to be seeing. And remember, we're looking to do more of this stuff to help you overcome your pain, get yourself back to those sport and exercise goals. So if you haven't subscribed yet, the subscribe button's below. Make sure you hit that. Here's another video where I'm helping you to overcome some of those pains, problems, and I will see you on the next one.